What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, last night we crowned a welterweight king. Last night we crowned a unified Ring Magazine lineal welterweight new champion, a new era that ended the era. It officially ended the era of Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, and Kell Brook. Manny Pacquiao, if you want to throw him in that era. That era is officially over. We have crowned a new champion in a new era of welterweight division and is now crowned by the head of it in unified IBF, WBA, Ring Magazine, undefeated, welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Jaron Boots Ennis, the phenom as I refer to him as. He is now 34 wins, no losses, no draws, 30 wins by way of knockout. He's 27 years of age, 5'10" with a 74-inch arm reach. He stopped Ennis, who was the undefeated WBA welterweight champion, Lithuanian star boxer. He stopped him in the 6th round last night. With that said, there is no more excuses. Jaron Ennis has told the world the reason that he was staying around to campaign at 147 was to become undisputed at 147 pounds. Not to just become unified, but to become undisputed. He even stated he wanted to be undisputed at 47, 54, 60, etc. Now you unified the belts against the WBA champion. There is a rivalry that has brewed very quickly between himself and another champion in the division. In WBO, undefeated welterweight world champion, star boxer, Brian Norman Jr., the hard-hitting, explosive, rough, rugged, boxing counterpuncher, Brian Norman Jr., who is 27 wins, no losses, no draw, 21 wins by way of knockout, only 24 years of age, 5'8" with a 72-inch arm reach. Brian Norman Jr., on paper, stylistically, and physically, would be the toughest test Jaron Boots in his career, physically. He's the most athletic, the most explosive fighter that Jaron Boots Ennis would have faced. There's a similarity between Ennis, Karen Chugajan, these types of fighters. Roman Villa, right? They have similarities. They're flat-footed fighters. They're not athletic and explosive. They are consistent. They are technical, but they're not athletic and explosive, right? Brian Norman Jr. will present a completely different style and task to Jaron Boots Ennis. Completely different, right? He's a completely different animal, and they have history now. They've sparred multiple times in their careers, and now they've been going back and forth on social media. Jaron Boots Ennis, in a post-fight last night, he stated that Brian Norman made $100,000 in his last fight prior to becoming a champion. And then Jaron Boots Ennis misspoke when he said that they offered Brian Norman $2 million. They did not offer Brian Norman $2 million. He said if the highest payday was $100,000 and we offer you $2 million, you would take it, right? And he says that speaks for itself. Well, they didn't offer him $2 million. And his highest payday was $200,000, right? That he got. But he was going into a fight as the underdog. He is now a world champion. So it's completely different. You're the unified champion. Now you go into negotiations. Are people still going to view you as what you got paid before you became a champion? No. So for him to come into your backyard in a unification bout for his first title defense, he wanted to get compensated. That only makes sense. When you go into the biggest fights, if I fight Canelo Alvarez, am I going to get slightly less money than I got fighting my last fight, who was just a regular schmo? No. You looking for life-changing money. If I'm going to fight Jaron Boots Ennis in Philadelphia in his backyard to unify my belts, you got to make it worth my while. Period. So at the end of the day, nonetheless, it doesn't matter. It fell through. You rematch Karen. He fought Cuevas. The rest is history. He wants to fight you. You want to unify the belts. There should be no more excuses. No more conversations. No more flirting with going to 54. You stated that you didn't fight Virgil Ortiz because you wanted to go and be undisputed. And I completely second that. I completely get behind that. I completely back that. So now is the time to do it. There's no point in flirting with nothing else. He should immediately been saying, line Brian Norman Jr. up ASAP. Mario Barrios is silent. And it's rumored that Mario Barrios can rematch Abel Ramos or fight Manny Pacquiao in the summer. He's not whispering Jaron Boots Ennis' name. Brian Norman Sr. are. And they have a belt. They have what you're looking for. They are one step closer to becoming undisputed. You could fight Brian Norman in the summertime and then pursue Mario Barrios by the end of the year and then move up to 154 in 2026. If you beat Brian Norman in summertime and you fight Mario Barrios in the end of the year, you could become undisputed before the year is up and then move to 54. You accomplish everything you need to accomplish in 1 year, like Canelo did at 168, becoming undisputed under a calendar year. Jaron Ennis can do that. He beat Amanda Stanionis in April. He can beat Brian Norman in the summer, beat Mario Barrios in the end of the year. You became undisputed under a calendar year. Now you could comfortably leave the division and go to 54 and don't have to look back and don't have any regrets or any conversations. There is no more excuses. We can't have conversations about Virgil Ortiz. Because if you're going to fight Virgil Ortiz just after beating Amanda Stanionis, then what was the point in staying there? You leaving food on the plate. And this is the biggest fight. Brian Norman, people could say he's not experienced, so on and so forth. I'm picking Brian Norman to beat Amanda Stanionis before Boots beat him. I'm picking Brian Norman to beat Mario Barrios. I think Brian Norman was the second best welterweight in the division behind only Jaron Ennis. Tough fights, but I'm picking Brian Norman. So unless Brian Norman can get Mario Barrios, there should be no conversation for Brian Norman, and there should be no conversation for Jaron Ennis because Mario Barrios is not even uttering his name. So all this hesitation and talking about what they said in the past, what they're clout chasing, they're using my name, all of that should be null and void. Call his bluff. He's a world champion. That's it. That's all. Make him an offer, Eddie Hearn. Make him an offer. That's it. That's all. All of these politics and nonsense need to be done away with. Who cares what Brian Norman was offered in the past? Who cares what Brian Norman did or did not do? Who cares what Boots Ennis did and did not do? Nobody cares. The politics need to go by the wayside. You stayed at 47 to unify the belts. That's why you didn't take the Virgil Ortiz fight when it presented itself. Brian Norman said after Cuevas fight, he was more than willing to fight Jaron Ennis. There should be no other conversation. And this should not be hard. We should not be talking about politics, what he did and what he didn't do. It don't matter. Let's get it done. Let's unify the belts. Make boxing great again. Period. And that's all I got for y'all, man. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. I'm gone. Peace.